Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PPL. I'm Evan Rayner, and that's William Gormeiser Newberry the fifth. It's time to get into the action for our second set of the day, the most contested set for sure, the one that people are kind of wondering if it can pan out in the way of the new NIP's revitalized roster with DiggyDog approaching his European second week here in the PPL and trying to see if he can compete against the big dogs, the change they were hoping to make to secure that spot at LAN.
And honestly, that's pretty much their goal right now, right? You're looking at this matchup, you're looking at the way things have been going, and you're saying no one's been able to take on Fnatic pretty much head-on-head. We need something that's going to bring a little bit of difference into
Absolutely.
it. So you bring in DiggyDog, who, again, after replacing Simsel, who was doing really well, has not missed a beat. He came into this pretty seamlessly. A couple of EV games specifically on Frog Isle that haven't quite gone the way I think that NIP wanted. But other than that, it's been great.
I mean, I think, NIP make a big risk here, but I think they feel committed about the personality and the player, the ability to grow, the tendencies and the skill that he's already shown throughout years of competing, that DiggyDog is the right fit to take this roster to the next level. Whether it happens on the timeline they would have hoped for, which is what? Immediately wins versus Fnatic versus Na'Vi, get to LAN, win LAN. Is that going to happen now? I don't know. That's a tall task. But can it happen towards the end of this year? Can they take this roster to the top? I think they're now in a position, at least I think they feel that they're in a position to do so towards the end of November. But of course, Fnatic, these are guys that have been at the top since January, but then somehow always missed a step or got stepped on, so to speak, to get the final championship.
It was in that vein. I was actually mentioning it because when I talked to Jera, one thing I noticed that completely shifted about Fnatic was you go to Vegas, you ask them any questions about who do you think's going to win, do you think a team's close to you? Nobody's close. Maybe Na'Vi, and like the way they said it, you could say like not Na'Vi in their mind. Like it's they are number one, no one else is close. Now it's a lot more, okay, we're fallible. We can make mistakes, we can mess up, we could lose a set. But we still think we're really good. We still think as long as we get our game going the way we need to, we'll win.
And you need to answer those questions because you're going to get asked them as you become a pro. You're going to be asked, do you think you can win? Do you think you're the best team? You need to have answers for that. And sometimes not saying anything doesn't, make things interesting. And that's what I think sometimes entertaining is about, making things interesting for the fans and the viewers. But as we head into maps here for set number 2 of today in game 1, you got to wonder, are Fnatic still in their heads? I think this is not a place where they're being challenged. I don't know if we'll get to answer that question because they're secured in LAN until we get to LAN. But boy, oh boy, were these guys in their heads towards the end of that LAN when they lost that just heartbreaking loss to Na'Vi after beating them just a few days before.
That's definitely, I think, the big question mark for them is how do they feel? Obviously, online, they don't have any threat to them. But again, you're sitting at home, you're comfortable, you're on your computer, your mouse, your keyboard, everything's set up the way you want it to. Then you get here, and it's like, okay, well, you can get the same game settings. You can bring your mouse, you can bring your keyboard, but it's not your chair, it's not your desk, it's not the computer you're used to. It's a different environment. All these guys that you're used to talking to in like a Discord are sitting right next to you.
You go to a hotel, and it's not going back to home, not eating some home-cooked food, not having all the routine that you're used to and preparing. So I think this is definitely something that Fnatic have to get around as far as they've already clearly shown they can conquer the online stages. They clearly have the best home setups in the world. And so they should do some setup tours for sure, because those would get thousands of views, because it'd be like 8-0 seasons from where they're playing. So let me see what you guys have peripheral wise. But LAN is where it's going to count. Right now, still trying to get to LAN with that undefeated season again, 2 in a row, and we're going to take the Barrack and the Drogos, the Shaolin and the Genos on their side.
A draft pretty similar to what we've been seeing out of Na'Vi just a second ago, being able to come through. And again, these two play each other all the time. You're looking at something that they have been comfortable with, and I think what Fnatic kind of brought into the realm, and I think they're the ones that have kind of hallmarked that as their choice, and I think it's going to work just as well here. If they go for Willow, I feel like they're just getting flashy, though.
I think this is really a consideration of the idea that Willow on Brightmarsh, because of the close space, because of the dead zone, can have an impact, and the fact that people have considered, she is a viable aspect in this meta. The Nightshade is enough burst for us to feel good about playing Willow. So they're going to grab Willow here at the end. Is it styling? Is it just trying to outmaneuver?
I've just been so confused because I cannot tell if these teams genuinely think that Willow is going to be great, or if this is okay, well, we think we can win this matchup, so let's go Willow. Fasheko makes her look great, so it's really hard to argue against it.
Well, Pacheco confident, that's something I've never seen before. Just kidding. Let's head it to the casters here for game 1, see what happens with NIP and Fnatic.
Well, bringing Willow to the table again, and last time Pacheco had quite an impact. And when you have that closed area with all that healing potential on the opposite side that you can just shut down completely.
Yeah, it's not just style here. It is going to be a lot of function against the Maldamba Gnar, being able to completely shut all that down. This anti-heal does not stack additively against. It completely shuts it all down. And I think that's going to be a large part of what he's looking to do here, as well as you're right. Closed spaces here, that lends well for Seedling to completely shut down areas that you want to enter through and whatnot. Pacheco, will he be able to have that type of impact? That's always the question with Willow, right? All these things look great on paper. Willow's abilities are insane on paper, but finding those actual things lining up for you in game, that's a bit of a different story.
Well, if anyone can do it, it's probably Pacheco having been playing it recently, and I feel like it is that statement of, oh, Nara, you want to stay on the point? And you want Maldamba to heal you? Well, here's this. And let me throw some ceilings through this window right here, which is a lot of times what we'll see, and just popping through. And even if you're on the push where somebody's trying to just get picks from a window, you can try and go and just collapse upon them.
And it looks like it will be combustible for Bugsy's Drogo, so who would have thunk that Mutu would be setting the pace for Drogo's players out there in the wild, as he's definitely been the first one to adopt the combustible, but there's been a time where Bugsy's played it back in the day. It's all the same to him. He's been in and out. Look at this heavy flanking coming through early to force Pacheco off of the high ground, but no blood is spilled.
He finds safety right within that capture area and then pops out eventually. 45% for Fnatic. Perdo taking to this window right here. Thiel gets first blood onto Shipa. So there's this punishment that we're seeing right here. Perdo forced backwards because walks right into dead zone.
Perdo just, every time he peeks his head out, he's taking almost 2,000 damage for it. And NIP didn't play that really bad. They were just the ones that took the risks, and I think Fnatic, by a small margin, were able to adopt a little bit better. And unfortunately, here's the dead zone. Here is those stars aligning for Willow, shutting down Shipa's healing. He is forced to hop right off that objective.
And that's the thing, very last minute, Inara making her way in, but when you only have a very limited area that you can walk to, Pacheco gets the double kill, the triple kill, the quadra kill! That just came out.
Where did that come from?
I don't know.
What? Did he get it? Oh, boo!
Well, he gets the one kill. Okay,
Too
he cleared
slow,
her.
boy.
He cleared off the objective. Okay, there's the double kill. Oh, wait, there's the triple.
No, that flutter, I was like,
just...
I saw that flutter and I was like, ooh, I don't know about this one. This could be Pacheco Flutter V2. Holy crap, that worked out literally as good as it could have.
I'm sad, though, that he didn't get the
I am too.
Penta.
Just the 5K.
So close. Yeah.
The big one-man wrecking crew. The young ace.
Jeez, talk about making Willow look real good, though. The last time on Monday, he was doing the same thing on Stone Keep. Here on Brightmarsh, 50% of this payload pushed. Losing a couple on the side of Fnatic, though. Digidog and Perdo putting in that work, but still. Bought a lot of time early on, and right now you're getting that 1v1 onto the enemy blaster. Doesn't go down just yet, but is forced down onto low. A nice hit right around the corner onto Digidog.
Definitely not ready for that seedling damage to come through, and he was even a decent bit above that. The Poppy Bomb trying to get him over from his awful position back onto the high ground there, but unfortunately caught some of the blast damage in the process. Poked pretty low here. Unrelenting aggression, great salvo from the side. Bugsy's going to pick up an unsuspecting Perdo and then resume throwing fire spits in for free damage onto this front liner.
And starting to open it up a little bit. Shipa takes a lot of healing, though, and is back basically to full HP. Nice hit from afar. NIP lose 3 right now. Bittner with the double kill. There's only a single Cassie remaining on the opposite high ground outside of the spawn doors, which leaves a nice opening for this payload to continue its push.
It's definitely been a struggle here for NIP. If they get map control, that's going to be a bit of a different story here, but with how aggressive Pacheco has been playing, I don't see him being too afraid to ever push up in the purpose of trying to drop a dead zone to shut the Inara down. And if dead zone wasn't enough to shut her down, You have to imagine a Dragon Punch might be another answer.
Every ultimate right out of the works. You got the Fae, you got the Dread Serpent, the Dragon Punch, the Dome Shield, everything in response to the others. Now it's just through time and space on the side of Fnatic, but they did gain a lot of ground immediately after that. NIP with 3 ultimates if they need to delay this anymore. Shippa's the one babysitting this payload right now, but at full, and now finally getting collapsed upon.
And this is big if you're NIP. You need to be able to hold this defense here. All the ultimates spent for Fnatic. You want to hold this here. You want to put them in a trash position next round to be able to fight you. And you know, you have a couple of ultimates to get this going, but they lose Shippa. Bugsy goes down in the process. I don't know. This is going to be close. We have to have our DPS here pushing it through, and NIP just too little, too late to the objective. They let it go through.
Shot back a little too much, and you saw Damba trying to just slither in, but it's not enough. And that's the problem. They had to rely so heavily on Shippa standing onto that, but this is Pacheco.
If he wouldn't have been so toxic with that emo, he could have got himself a pentakill. So really, he shot himself in the foot. And now I feel less bad.
I mean, on Stone Keep, when I think he was like 7-1-3 going into one of the rounds, and the only death he had was from that emo.
Yeah. A lot of Pacheco's deaths come as a result of irresponsible emoting.
Yeah.
So remember, kids, emote responsibly, I guess, is the message there.
But he's just committing.
He waits out for a Haven 3 after just 1 round of play, so he's going to be a thick boy. Peridot rolls straight into that seedling. Bugsy is able to clip him as he comes out.
You see it from afar. Leon's also checked low. Bonker finally gets finished off by Bittner. But 21% on this point and climbing. Bugsy going right overhead and sees that Shippa's actually being zoned off currently alongside Digidog, who takes about 50 HP to his name, and there's your time and space, but doesn't kill off.
Here comes a seismic crash through the window. It's a nice angle, but Cappy, there's no real follow-up. Digidog goes a little bit high with his King Bomb. He's coming all the way up over the top and dunks down onto Theo.
Gets onto Theo. Fasheka goes down as well to Bonker, and now it's only Bugsy here to remain. And maybe with this comeback mechanic, NIP could try to pull this back, because almost everybody is up here on the objective. Bugsy finally goes down. Rest of the team starting to rotate, but somebody's going to have to make it in real quickly, and Peridot wants to stop that as soon as possible.
Incredible moves from Bonker there. Peridot, thankfully, Somersault's going to bail him out, or else he would have been completely useless in that fight. He was the first one picked off there. Wasn't able to help at all during that actual successful fight from NIP, and he almost got blasted as he came back through, but he will stay standing for the time being, and that's a great pick, or a great take from NIP. When you have Fnatic failing, or still succeeding with an offense after committing 4 ultimates, yes, that sucks, but they're still down 4 ultimates, Gabriel, and that's still a massive advantage for you in this round, in this fight that NIP did eventually win. But if they, they hold against those 4 ults, still give up the conversion, and then lose the fight in the next round, that's the point where I'm saying this doesn't look good for NIP.
And then just moments ago, Bittner popped the Heat Haze and was killed shortly after. A few trades back and forth from both of these teams. So NIP, the more that they can find Fnatic in those situations using those ultimates, but not necessarily getting everything out of it that they wanted, then better. So they got a pretty decent leeway, but after losing 3 of their players, they had to back off of this aggressive push.
Really great map awareness there from Bugsy and Theo as well to be able to out-rotate Bonker and eventually lock him down. But the take-back is here. All 5 from NIP have resurrected, and will again resume pushing. Bonker's still on his horse looking for a way in, has his ultimate available. That and the Dread Serpent is all that NIP are currently working with. This Fire Spit could result in 2 kills, and Bugsy can find the connection. Not quite on the Digidog.
Enlightenment gets a nice hit onto Dragos, but not enough to kill off, as Bittner and Pacheco pick up a couple kills. So this is going to stop the payload at this time. Digidog taking down Pacheco, but it's still Fnatic coming out on top in this fight. Bugsy in pursuit of the Bomb King, throws one shot out from far, doesn't connect, but still everybody on NIP is just backing off.
It's all just too little too late there for NIP, and a little bit off the mark on a lot of things. Ends up making that fight look pretty rough for them. Only 30 seconds now on the clock. Both of the ultimates that were previously up have now been used for NIP. Fnatic have used nothing. They're coming up on their Heat Haze as well, and NIP are coming up on a couple of their own, but at this stage of the game, with comeback mechanics staying enabled here, even if you fail this offense, I think they want to just play this one safe here and try and stay in the game as long as can.
I think that's what you gotta do. You don't want to blow anything without any value, or else you're kind of securing your own fate by getting a little too reckless. Proto, couple kills right now, so some shutdown onto Fnatic. Okay, there's a team wipe. I like it, I like it. NIP, now you're just gonna move forward as much as you can. Bugsy does spawn back up, so he's probably just gonna sit right back there until the rest of the team comes through and shoot from afar, slugging it away. But this is getting to the point where they can have another fight actually near that final objective, or if they win that fight, then they can push it through. But all ults up for Fnatic if need be.
Unfortunate the payload wasn't just a little bit closer there. That could have been a great conversion there for NIP. They throw up the wall. They're going to try their best at this one here. Ultimates are ready to fly for both sides. Overtime is ready to expire at a moment's notice.
Seismic crash down the line, gets a little bit. Fasheko with the double kill. And because it took them too long to get to that final positioning of that payload, overtime doesn't last very long. So a couple of them got off. And then defense went over. Right overhead into Thiel's face.
Full 2,500 damage as well for the direct connection. It's all good. And 20,000 damage up above the majority of the pack is Fasheko. 16-5 on this Willow. The young David. I can't remember. His last name is really hard to say. I think it's like Kostenanov or something like that.
Yeah.
Where's that from?
Kostenanov?
Something like that.
I don't know.
Novs are like, that's like Eastern European, like Ukraine or something like that, I feel like.
Next
They're from
interview,
all over
have
the
to
place.
ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fnatic's, it's not like, Virtus Pro probably is one of
Right.
the only teams to have a lot of people of the same nationality. Everyone else is pretty dispersed. But here we go. Potentially, let's fight. Fnatic can secure it. All it's still available. NIP. Shippa has rotated below, but knows there's a Drogo's in the sky, and that's why Dicky Dog's on the top. Bittner gets one onto Bonker. Fasheko with the follow-up, but trades out directly with the enemy Bomb King. Dread Serpent been right into the face, but punished for it.
Couple of bold planets so far this game. Dicky Dog's picked up 2. He's looking for his 3rd. Puts about 1,000 damage onto Bugsy before backing off. Shippa's here, and before this game potentially ends, I want to look at the KDs. Specifically at Shippa's death count here, because he has really been struggling, I feel, against this dead zone. 7 deaths to his name. Bugsy, no Dragon Punches landing for him today.
Well, and also Dome Shield use Seal so low right now. Bittner taken out again, but luckily just enough heal up onto this barrack to keep him around 96%. And NIP, all you've got is a Bomb King who's just getting blasted in the face right now. So overtime settles on in, and Fnatic take game number 1 of the set.
I mean, what a performance from Fasheko on the Willow there. Absolutely incredible. He's picked up dead last, 10th in the draft for, pretty specific purpose, right? Shut down the Sonara healing and see what you can do beyond that is what I'm looking at. And then he goes on to have this ace by himself. Really, really incredible moment there for him. That could have been even better if he wasn't so toxic and popping emotes all the time.
Come on, man.
Not even just that. He's 20K out in front of Bugsy's Drogos on Combustible. I mean, it's just crazy what he was able to pull off.
It's a lot to be proud of. And you know what? If you're going to emote and do it in a capacity that is enjoyable, then hey, have at it. Let's send it over to the desk to see what they have to think about that play.
Great stuff there from Fasheko. We talked about confidence, and he certainly had plenty of it. In fact, almost basically missed a pentakill as a result. Although he got it, just wasn't in time to hear the announcer say it. And at this point, you got to say the Fnatic looked the way that we expected them to.
Pretty much coming through, and it's you watch that game, and you're like, man, who could you actually highlight? Well, it's Willow. It's not something that I think you would have expected at the beginning of the split. At the end of the last LAN, if I had told you, if I could glance in the future and I said, Willow, one day, is going to be in our highlight reel.
Yeah. Boom.
I think the only team that could have come into your mind would have to be Fnatic. Maybe someone bringing it as an underdog.
And as you can see there, the video evidence absolutely is concurrent, Goremizer, that if he would not have emoted and just turned to the right, he would have gotten an official pentakill. Chances missed. Chances not taken.
Say, as Nick said it, if you weren't so toxic, I
If
think
you weren't so
Nick said
toxic
it,
and
just-
emoting.
I like the emotes personally. Again, you're looking at you take that boisterous nature of, hey, we're the best out of the interviews and put it into the gameplay.
It's a nice clip to emote, immediately turn and get another kill after that. It's a little capsule, a little style on him, you know what I mean? Get 4, blah, 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 do my thing, then boom, find another.
It's the next level of spraying before that kill, right? Like, you could have sprayed, but it's not as cool as emoting and then turning and killing.
The evolution of toxicity in BM in Paladins has taken a new leap forward. You've moved us farther ahead, Fisheko, we appreciate you. It's time to head into the maps for game number 2.
The real BM is that he did it with Willow.
Yeah. Jaguar Falls. What a map. What a map. This is something that's quite familiar to both of these teams. We've seen so much happen between NIP here, from triple tank to, you know, almost essentially quadra DPS from yesterday, right? Where we're just looking at what are they going to bring out and how's the priority you think going to land in terms of the drafting for both of these teams?
Well, I'm kind of curious to see where Fnatic want to steer this because, again, while Willow looked really good on Brightmarsh, this is one where Drogo's Bomb King usually come in first, although I think I would say that about Brightmarsh as well. And so I'm curious if they're going to go. I mean, Genos is their first pick, so I expect to see a Barret come through. That's something that they love on this map.
Yeah.
Double frontline's kind of up in the air, and then which blaster they choose is up in the air. But that's kind of the theme I think they want for their entire pick.
Absolutely. I mean, you could assume that the Barrack will come locked in here. Otherwise, Fnatic are going to go way off kilter of what they've done, and they are going to take the Inara. So this time, Theo is going to just leave that Barrack open and say that we like the Inara Bomb King better, which seems us of metas old. Metas in the past where Barrack was not such a thing. NIP now have an opportunity to, and they will, grab the Barrack here. Still slightly befuddling for a lot of people who see tanks that have been always contributing in a high way with the Maeve band as well, where you don't have to worry about street justice like a Fernando. But I think they're really just valuing potentially that damage that he can bring from range and just the reset ability.
And there's a certain amount, I want to say, that Barricade gives you. That is the fact that I can shoot you, you can't shoot me.
Right.
And
I'm not locked
again,
out of
when you
doing
get
damage,
it in the
yeah.
right spot, you have Barrack being able to get that damage contribution.
No doubt about that.
And while he's not as tanky, he at least has that, I want to say, sustainability elsewhere in his kit.
I'm not sure Fnatic or NIP were actually very aware that Fnatic were going to take this Fernando. It's a double tank here for both teams. A little bit interesting for NIP and Fnatic, mixing up their draft just a bit and trying to maybe catch each other off guard. Won't happen this time around, though. Let's send it to the casters for Game 2 here on Jaguar Falls.
Slip Fernando right in the bottom of the draft for Fnatic.
That's one of my favorite combinations on Jaguar Falls, specifically with a Bomb King. That's a character that, when he's allowed to just kind of get in that rhythm, especially when you've got, you know, things to increase your reload speed, it's really impossible to fight against, especially in the early game, especially with this being one of Bomb King's best maps. It's not something Fnatic do very often anymore. Normally Theo's on the solo front line, so we've seen Na'Vi flex both the single and the double front line today. They brought out the double on Jaguar Falls. Fnatic will do the same. And I think this is good just to get this experience, this practice, stay fresh, stay sharp on multiple strategies under your belt leading up to the event.
There was no reason to switch it up when they were just trying to make sure they secured that spot at the LAN, and then now is when you can start making the changes, just different practices. And here we are with Theo on that Nando, Bugsy on this Inara.
And for me, I think Perdo is the one I'm watching. He's got to make some plays on this Cassie. He was virtually non-existent in game number 1. Getting shut down. A lot of the times he would poke his head out. A lot of burst damage on the table for Fnatic in game number 1. They have a decent amount in this game as well. He's going to be a big factor, chipping down these frontliners from distance. Hopefully staying safe, contributing a lot more than he did on Brightmarsh.
Especially right in that initial period where everyone on Fnatic was spread, so you had a bit more of an opportunity to free fire. Bugsy still getting heals up. Sheko, he's the one with first blood this time around. 15% for Fnatic so far. And I think that NIP, during game number 1, they struggled to find their opening right at the beginning. It was kind of because of that risk that they took. And right now, it's kind of a similar situation. It's hard for them to break through these barriers.
Oh, Dwarf didn't go anywhere when he got impaled. Stout little SOB, I suppose. And now he's getting...
He's got a low center of gravity.
Exactly, you're right. He's hard to throw off balance. Salvo Spit comes through, connects onto 3 for Diggy but it's too late. Fnatic have already captured the first payload of the game, and NIP will finally find a frag here. Diggy dives in to find one more, and it's all just consolation at this point.
A couple kills to follow up, but it was a typical case where because he had Bugsy that was able to stand on the objective,
Nice.
Theo was making those rotations, just got taken down by Diggy Dog, so who knows if NIP can consistently get these picks right now, try and block off in this first initial choke point, then it could be a slowdown enough where Fnatic are having to scramble for the rest of the push. This gets another one onto Jera, but meanwhile, even though Diggy Dog's getting some kills here and there, a couple members of the team have been falling.
Really solid stuff from Diggy on the Drogos. I think it's probably his best character. I think it just looks so fluid on it. And you can see even in dire moments, still looking near flawless on it, right? Still not afraid to dive in there, grab kills. That's just what happens when you're really comfortable with the champion. Fishy, though, swinging for the fences here, almost gets Terminus, throws out the Grumpy Bomb. And look at that. That was actually really cool. So the knock-up from that combustible actually moved Theo up and above Fish Echo, allowing him to actually have a little window to be slain, and they were able to find it. That was really nice.
They peeked through here just for a moment. It worked out for them. So despite the delay early on, Fnatic have made it past that initial choke. Right now they're under this archway, and Diggy Dog, he's still having these consistent kills. He's still applying that pressure. 2 down right now for Fnatic, and every time he's taken down or contributed to the takedown of Jera even, that's when we've had a little bit of these stalls, as you can see in this moment's time, and starting to be able to move forward past the actual payload.
Can we look at this Drogos' loadout here? I want to see if he's running his Fire Spit anti-heal card, and it looks like he is just at the level 4 level, though. Clipped.
Boop.
Jera finds his little toesies sticking out and is able to clip him for the full 2400, enough to slay the dragon.
Couldn't jump high enough, and now Britt got a little sandwiched right there, forced back, and Bittner picked up that one. But now 15 seconds to go on this push. Everybody that's up on NIP, they're gonna have to jump down eventually, as you can see with Terminus doing so. Gets locked down by Bugsy, though, and pays his life as the price. Here's the Dome Shield, last-ditch effort, only 2 standing. Gets the healing from Dumba, but is it enough? You see that Fisheko's on the opposite side, just shooting him right into the back of the head, and Fnatic push it through for the 2-0.
Goodness gracious, that's a big ultimate committed for NIP to come up short. And young Jordy Haas still connecting lasers from all over the place. Diggy Dog stunned there, didn't have his thrust available, just was coming off cooldown. Unable to use it in time. Peridot, top damage. 1 and 3, though, he will remain. That's all you can really ask, though. If he's losing, it doesn't really matter what the KD is, as long as he's still finding good damage. But later and later, as these shields go down a little bit quicker, the healing's not quite as effective. Hopefully, some of that damage can actually be converted into kills.
Because we saw early on, he was landing some nice shots into Bugsy, and that's where some of the damage comes from. But then the healing would come through and completely negate the work that Peridot put in. But right now, with comeback mechanic, if they can keep this game going where it does push a bit longer as opposed to a shirking where they can't really actually benefit from itemization, then that's where they could potentially thrive.
And then, Cassie, she's probably, a lot of that damage is probably just chipping frontliners from distance. Wow.
He moved in, said nope.
I assume he just wanted to get the Immortal there. That's what that flight path tells me.
Yeah, there wasn't anything about that said I'm totally ready to just commit into this. But nonetheless, Fnatic, they lose 2 right now, but Bugsy's still standing here on the objective. Diggy Dog ready to attempt to collapse, even Bird, but a final slam down. Peridot with the credit, double kill to Diggy Dog, and Fnatic with this, their 60% is gonna get stemmed.
Very, very patient play there from NIP, and that Dragon Punch forces the Immortal, does its job. Diggy makes it out safely. He's already back to full charge, mind you. That's actually insane. And it keeps Fnatic in that little room, or at least 2 of them there. It allows NIP for a much easier pincer, and this is why, calling off Dragon Punches for Immortals isn't a bad thing, right? Diggy Dog, 30 seconds later, if that, it's already charged up. He already gets his kill for it, and just like that, NIP are off to the races.
Yeah. And this is a similar situation to what we saw during the last game, but Fnatic was able to hold on that defense at the last minute nonetheless. Chipa a little too clustered right here in the corner, had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. They just stagger him out a bit. 2 minutes to go on this push.
158 as the clock will start to tick down. There's only a couple ultimates to work with here. NIP, they've gotten a couple of payloads, right, so far this game, but, conversion is a different story for them. Sheepa gonna look to collapse here. Looks like on the Bugsy, Zanara, who's locked in heated combat with this Barrack up over the top of the wall. That'll be good for 1 as Diggy Dog can now surge forward. Salvo Spit at the ready. He's gonna track Fishy through his Poppy Bomb and find the big frag.
Find the frontliner, find the damage in the back, looking for the secondary tank where Theo actually has to hop around the side to find protection closer to the spawn area, but NIP, this does allow them to finally get some traction on this payload. The thing is, it did take them a while to get off with this, as they were charging some of their ultimates in the meantime. And that's why I feel like it's looking very similar to game number 1, where yes, we get this capture, yes, we get comeback mechanic, but finally could make it all the way through closer to the end, but where overtime will just be so quick. Bittner, Fisheko with the double. So low on HP, but at least Diggy Dog's able to clean it up.
Didn't have the last ammo in the clip available. It was nice up until that point, though. You have to give him a lot of credit. Bonker does burn his dome shield, and nobody else burned anything from NIP, so I don't know if that was the call or if that was just Bonker of his own volition seeing an opportunity he thought he could seize and just letting it slip through his fingers, but not a whole lot accomplished there with one of the bigger cooldowns spent for Ninjas in Pyjamas.
Yeah, the first time it was that last-ditch effort to try and hold that defense, but you did so when 3 of your teammates were dead.
Right.
And then this time, it didn't quite work out for you either, so you're only at 32% on that charge. You got to make one of them work because of the fact that that can completely stall a point or completely push one through. But he and the rest of the team are starting to fall right now. Trade out with the Bomb King, but still, everybody's falling.
That's a big problem, Gabby. He only gets a charge back to 39%. So he'll be far off the mark. That ultimate will not be a factor in the next engagement either.
That's really rough, because when you're going into another situation with comeback mechanic again, that was a
race to the reload. That's what that was there. And of course, you have Royal Decree there for Bomb King to make that a little bit easier. Increase your reload speed by 10% for 3 seconds after using a detonate. 10% was enough. On top of the fact that Bomb King has a decently quick reload at base, but so does Cassie. Unfortunately, Peridot used the roll there to cover most of Fishy's reload, so he was ready to go the second Peridot was actually ready to be targeted.
3, 2.
But is he ready for this round? That could be the last one. Lots of ults. Like we said, no dome shield, though. And on the opposite side, everything is available. And, I mean, Seismic Crash could be one way for Fnatic to just go and kick things off if they find NIP is attempting to collapse. Reanimate could be a way for NIP to turn this around if he manages to plant himself on the objective before dying, so he can keep himself in that area. But it's Fnatic with the Sonara play that's able to get it first, and Bugsy and Jera with 2 kills onto the frontliner, onto the support, and the secondary frontliner all through, making this pretty convincing so far.
Jenner lets loose a nice salvo of arrows to answer the salvo of rockets, but still the kills are in favor of Fnatic. Gabriella. Reanimate was used as well, but Sheep has not been able to gain much ground. Bittner takes down Diggy. Sheepa falls as well. Everyone dying left and right to the young Shah.
Past 90%, Bittner with the double kill, and Fnatic are able to push through game number 2. Another 4-1 victory in a very similar fashion, nonetheless.
Solid stuff. Different ways there of accomplishing the same goal, though, with these 2 front lines on Jaguar Falls. They're still showing great resolve. NIP have their moments for sure, but little things not connecting right, like the Dome Shield, big cooldown usages with nothing else to follow it up. Like, for instance, Sheepa died up on, he was under that Dome Shield, pushed out, and I was like, okay, this might be where NIP are just looking to go, but they didn't pop the reanimate either. So being all on the same page is definitely, I think, an easy step for NIP to take.
Well, Fnatic up 2 games within the set, so let's send it back over to Evan and Gore.
Fnatic have something to prove. They are treating each game that way as they take another convincing win over NIP. It's a rough start for NIP as well after, obviously, Na'Vi clinching with their earlier win and NIP now having to just go and do their best against Fnatic. It's not looking good, so to speak.
Definitely what Nick said. You could feel kind of just no syncrecy between the team. Kind of, what are you doing? Like, okay, we're going to ult here. Where's the follow-up? Where's everyone else? Like, you could tell everyone, it seemed like they were on their own timers, on their own page, not really working together. And part of me wonders, like, I mean, originally I would think maybe Fnatic's doing something that's making them play like that. But some of it just seems like some miscommunication. And again, if you're going up against Fnatic, I kind of expect it.
Do you think that's just going to get better with time? Do you think it's just Diggy Dog coming in and it's just at a moment now and that will be long gone as we head into the next split?
Definitely. That's one of those things that I think it comes up. Because, again, you're looking at someone who's been playing with Kanga the entire time, who's now brought not only into a completely new region.
Yeah, very different style.
But a completely different team, different teammates, different kind of communication styles, different callouts, whatever they have. And I want to say he's kind of the showcase of if you do get to go to LAN, right? If you do go through the PGS and you showcase how good you are there, you can get picked up literally anywhere.
Yeah.
But there is still going to be that warm-up period, right? It's only a second week coming into it, and you could, I think, kind of feel that NIP, even though they've been looking good, haven't hit their full stride yet.
Yeah, and I mean, good stuff across the board from Fnatic. You can't look at anyone who's just not performing well, and that's a problem when you don't have that guy you can look at and say, oh man, he's their weak link. He's the one we could take advantage of here. Bittner firing off. You know, good moments from Thiel as well towards the end of that fight as they back off and then recollapse. And you do have to wonder, drafting, what is being exposed, what isn't, because Barrick doesn't look very great there. And the Terminus, who has been not picked as far as the Barrick when going these solo front lines, now together, paired against this Inara, Fernando look not comparable at all. And maybe it's just Fnatic. Maybe it's just this draft of this being exposed against a team that can expose these drafts. Or maybe it's just a matter of, hey, a great team in stride versus a team trying to get it all together with a new member as we head to map 3. Could it be the last game of the set? It's possible. Stone Keep is where we will find all of that information out.
Fnatic, they cinched this one. Undefeated again.
Undefeated
Being able to come through. And I think this time cleaner all around in their slash lines. I think they've had one set go longer than 5 games, or longer than 3 games. And it was to 5 games that first week against Na'Vi. And since then,
pretty incredible.
It has been just cut and dry for them.
And what a run, too. I mean, to hang your hat on the fact that you've done something no one else has pretty much been able to do in the PPL in Europe. It was such good players, good competition, good opportunities to take away from this being a reality from you, to still go through that despite losing lanes. You got to say, we got something to be proud of here in the squad. The squad has definitely accomplished a lot. We just want a little bit more. We're just hungry.
I mean, with the way things are going, and again, I think this is what drives them, right? You get online, undefeated, you're 24-2 or something like that, right? In terms of your win-loss in maps. And then you get to LAN, and it's like, man, we got second place.
Well,
that drives you.
It drives you because the only time they face the adversity is when it matters most, and they don't have a lot of opportunities to meet a caliber of a team that's going to knock them out until they can actually knock them out. That's the problem. When they get to LAN, it's this new beast. It's this dynamic. It's like, dude, if we could play against this 5, I'm sure Fnatic would rather give up a winless season, play against the team they're going to play against in the finals 5 times in a row at that level at LAN, to be able to say, we're going to now be prepared for everything that you could throw at us in a LAN environment, versus here where, you know, Fisheko's getting quadra kills, emotes turning into pentakills on a Willow and not having opportunities to really be tested.
And I think the strength of Fnatic, outside of the fact that they're just really good, like they're just a really damn good team, and comes into the fact that they're also like pioneering, I want to say, their own kind of meta. That's one of the things. Barrick came through and it looked really good when they started running it. Now you're looking at Willow and Victor where it's like before you're like, man, that's not going to work out. And then they pick it and you're like, okay, well, they can make it work. And so being able to do that, they know how to beat their own strategy. So when everyone adopts it, they just counter it.
They go into, exactly. It's just like the Barrick that's the first time we saw it in that Game 7, you know, on Fish Market against Na'Vi. And now it's just become widely adopted in Europe. You got to say Fnatic has something to do with that. Let's send it over to our casters for Game 3 here. NIP and Fnatic getting down one more time.
So do you think we're going to see a Willow Penta here?
I don't know. It's definitely can be rough. If he can pull it off on Brightmarsh, so I think he can pull it off just about anywhere. There's plenty of line of sight breaks, but Fishy finds a way.
Finds a way. Last time we saw him here, he did play the Willow very, very effectively. We've seen her a bit more often, but not.
I'm more interested in the Victor personally.
Successful. Yeah.
That's one that hasn't worked out a ton. Fnatic have pulled it out a couple of times. Splice have pulled it out a couple of times. G2 have pulled it out. They were able to win with it. Let's see if Fnatic are able to do the same. And Victor, one of the highest base DPS characters in the game. You throw Gunnery on top of that to add 15% more. Then you throw Luminary on top of that to add 15% more. Before you know it, you're melting people in just a second or two.
Yeah, I think last time Fnatic run this, I believe it was Bittner that was on this Victor as well, and coming back to it here on Stone Keep.
Great grenade there.
Wonderful.
Way to start it off, Tenor.
That's how you make a statement at the start of the game, everybody. Just shame, but still, it didn't seem to phase them too much. Nobody dying just yet. A big chunk down onto Shippa, who's forced to retreat over to the side.
That is good damage. Victor has a refire rate of 0.1 second, so he's shooting 10 bullets per second. So whatever number you're seeing on screen, add a 0 to it, And that's how much damage per second he is able to get out, assuming Tenor is connecting with all of his bullets, which for the most part, he tends to do.
Yeah, especially when you see somebody in the opening tower, you just kind of lock onto an opening in this way, exactly where Bordeaux is ready to knock on out. You're ready to start firing as soon as they pop their head out because you know where those rotations are coming from. And then without that threat of Shaolin, rotates back on over. Shippa goes down. Drogo's falling into some trouble as well. And Bittner, he is not letting off of this gas pedal.
Let's get gunned down. Let's head to the damage chart, see what kind of work Bittner's been able to put in after the first map. He's just struggling to keep up with these blasters. Willow and Drogos still seizing the throne. If all that destruction, all those kills are going good for Bittner, you have to imagine how Fasheko and Digidog's days are looking.
But the thing is, the damage he is putting out, it's either killing off or forcing back. So it's okay to not be there at the top of the charts if you're still doing work with what you have been actually supplying in numbers.
That's absolutely right. He's definitely converted a couple of good kills, find some good dismounts as well as Perdo just getting shut down on the Shaolin on his retake potential. A lot of first bloods for Perdo. Not a great set for him today, I gotta say.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where we saw, I think, early on in the games, he'd get a double kill here or there if he wasn't disrupted. But as soon as everything started rolling, Fnatic are usually able to find him, and that's got to be a bit intimidating, bit of a letdown when you can't really get into your role, whether you're on the Cassie or Shaolin or whatever it may be.
Oof, Bird eats a big chunk of damage. Digidog does the same. And all these 500 HP escapes, Gabby, are the biggest problem for NIP. You can't allow Tenor to come out, do that type of damage, and then just walk away from you. Or run, I guess.
Just about 3 minutes there in round number 1. Very, very quick. One death on the side of Fnatic going over to Bittner, but he's 6-1-1.
That was right at the end
that
he ended up falling. Like you said, though he didn't have the highest amount of damage, he is converting the most kills when it's all said and done. And, you know, you eat a lot of damage from him, right? You know, I think he was hitting for 160 to 190, so somewhere between 1,600 and 1,900 DPS. When you're getting shot, but you're getting blown up by this grenade that's doing about 600 or 700 to you. At the same time, those bullets start connecting for 700 or 1,700 DPS. That gives you, you know, about a second or so to react to survive. So it's not a lot of time, and that's, I think, what is you know, being the biggest factor here for Tenor to be able to lead the kill charts.
Man, and just right now, Perdo wanted to get a good angle, but actually forced back a little bit because of that dead zone. But interesting. Pop of the ultimate from Will. There's another one from Bugsy. Shippa and Bird both picking up a couple kills onto Fnatic, so it's a 2-for-2 trade, and fairly even on the objective as well, with NIP securing this high ground on the opposite Cathedral end.
There it is. The wall is going to nullify this Dragon Punch, or will it? Coming all the way around. No. Digidog finds a way to get it done. Nightshade Burst is enough to fight back NIP for now. Fasheko will escape with his life, but the same cannot be said for his Inara.
A 9 streak for him, and being that he's completely topped off right now by the Genos, can at least keep firing so that NIP is forced to dissipate their positioning just a bit. There's the seismic crash in the corner, but Bordeaux goes down either way. Ultimate directly onto the objective. You see Barrick throwing down that dome shield. 93% for NIP, though, with this comeback mechanic. Rotation of field to try and prevent this from actually converting.
Inara simply hops down onto the objective, keeps it stalled out. Fishy and Bugsy are going to find one apiece. Bird, he's going toe-to-toe with this Willow. He drops the gourd. Bird, he's able to trade out with Fasheko, and that's, I think, best-case scenario for the NIP support.
You're fighting right on top of a gourd. It takes you a little bit to get those
gourd kills feel real good.
I've taken you down with me. But nonetheless, here's the overtime. One down on both sides. Bugsy is taken to this side. High ground tier 2. And it's going to get reset just a little bit. Thiel with the double kill. And then doesn't even care that there's a Shaolin over there on the high ground. Perdo ends up getting the singular trade as well. But it's 4 down for NIP. And Fnatic with that can secure.
Grenade won't find much, but Fnatic get what they came for, and they are 1 round away from completing their, what is this now, 3rd split in a row, because they were undefeated in the fall split of last year, though it was a bit of a different roster back then. Now they come through spring undefeated, they come through summer undefeated. When will it end for Fnatic?
It's what they're saying at the desk too, where they would probably trade that for more land victories, but it's still something I think you can be proud of. There's something said about this consistency and this level of play that they've managed to bring, and it makes you feel like there's going to be some way for them to be able to convert that.
Yeah, you would hope it would give them confidence, right? They've done it before. They really, you know, don't need to be too nervous going into these LAN events because they've beaten all these teams before so many times now without losing. It's like, just make it happen on LAN.
It's the same team.
Yeah.
Same ones when you go and you hit them there. Finally the kill onto Bittner from Diggy Dog. But a whole minute and a half to go in this push. About 75% of the way pushed through. A little low on HP for Thale, but getting healed back up. And ready to make the rotation around. NIP have stepped out a little bit from their defensive area to cut off Fasheko before he can even make an appearance.
The cool thing about this split, though, with Fnatic is that they've been able to do their undefeated run for the most part without Eevee. They haven't played a ton of the Eevee. They've really kind of been exploring other options, as you can see here, as Willow and Victor have been picked up. They're finding out, you know, what all they can use here. The entire cast is their arsenal so far. And, you know, they weren't happy about not being able to use Eevee during the Masters LAN, and that may have been able to have been one resource that they could have leaned on, but I wonder if it's just going to be different this time around with more flexibility for everyone involved.
Well, could be, but here we are, final 30 seconds of this push. Fnatic, their full roster is here, ready to fight. Bittner coming into a little bit of trouble on the high ground, drops onto the low, and it's blaster on blaster on the side as Will faces off against the Drogos, but no one has fallen in that capacity just yet. And the payload is very close to its final conversion, and almost all ultimates up for Fnatic for them to just make a game-changing play.
Hey, here comes the first of which. Fasheko, very careful about how he's approaching this. He's got a great angle on this backline. Bird and Diggy Dog, not long for this world. Double kill for Fasheko to get it started.
And now you just rotate back to the rest of the fight. Fasheko picks up another one for the team, the Enlightenment. And, I mean, this is going to be trouble for NIP. They lose the barracks, just a little bit of a spawn up from the rest of NIP, but Fnatic haven't lost anybody within the recent time. Dread Serpent onto the low ground. Bird once again canceled out by this Flowery Lady. The double kill again. And that's going to be a Dragon Punch, but not enough to turn it around. Fnatic losing 3, but still standing strong.
Another triple kill for Fasheko. Can he clutch this out in time to push this payload through? Another one coming out. Bird, he will fall alongside Sheepa. And one by one, they all fall to Big Dave as he clutches out the rest of the EU spring split or summer split.
A little bit of a drag out in that fight as it was that, okay, one person coming down.
But that's Willow's spot, man. She wants you to stand in the same spot and just obliterate you with massive abilities and massive enhance.
So congratulations to Fnatic. Another split going undefeated. And that's a lot of consistency from a single team. So that's it for the casters. Let's send it back over to the desk to close out your day.
Wow, wow, wow. Nothing else to say. Fasheko, Willow, back as much as ever. Will she make the transition into LAN? You'll have to wait and see in July. But I think at this point, safe to say that she's been working well for Fnatic, exposing some weaknesses for sure in some of the drafting potential, and also just execution-wise, Fasheko is just really not making any mistakes.
And I feel like there's maybe 1-2 other champions right at the tail end of a game that could make a final push for you where it's like, all right, we need you to not only get a triple kill, but then you had to kill a Barrack on your own. I think he actually had to kill 2 on his own at the tail end.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, you are going to be left alone on this island fighting the team. Can you do it? And it's like, well, as Willow, apparently so. And I think it looked phenomenal. Like, just the way he was able to approach this, it was something I don't think I've actually seen someone do on their own before.
Yeah, it's been a great, I mean, he's also, you know, it works so well because the snowball, the reset of Just Believe, the 40 to 50% cooldown reduction in combination with this loadout is just meaning he's getting his seedlings up and his dead zones up again. Things are working for him. And notice here, the way they are using it is in a triple DPS composition with a Genos. We have not seen this Willow when she's hitting without that 15% damage amp on her basic in hand. Does she lose potency? Definitely. But does she lose the effectiveness to be able to do this and do what Fnatic want? Not sure. We'll have to wait and see if they bring it out in a draft that way. Let's take a look at the standings here after Fnatic. Clean sweep. 3-0 and clean sweep through the PPL 2 seasons in a row, and the season before only lost 1 game. It is an incredible feat that no other team has been able to accomplish, and G2 Esports are very close to being able to do that themselves. Not a Sincere clinching with their win today. And, of course, tomorrow we will be able to see whether it's Renegades or Team Envy going to LAN. What an exciting game. Those two teams battling it out. You have to say that that is, at least by far, the marquee matchup for this week, considering that there is still something to play for both of those teams tomorrow. It's just going to be an extremely exciting day.
I think tomorrow's schedule is set up perfectly because it's like you get the tension that I expect to be a long set between these two. Envy have been looking great, but Renegades have been so heavily on the rise. And then you get to finish it up with G2 going up against SK. So it's like heavily tension to let's see G2 maybe play around again. Like you get that final like that release, which I think is a great way to kind of cap off the split.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to cap off the day, as we mentioned, again, High Res Expo. You got to be there. It's the biggest tournament of the year, and you'll get to see all these players in real life. You want to shake Pacheco's hand or his knee, because his knee tends to be hand height whenever he's playing this game. You can go to the 16th to the 18th in Atlanta. HighResExpo.com to get your tickets. We've also got the summer sale. Nick did some exploring for us in the wilderness, and luckily even made it back to the 3 p.m. call time for the cast. Doing it all, that guy. And, of course, if you want to get 25% off and a ton of great exclusive deals, you can take part in the summer sale going on right now here for Paladins. That is going to do, ladies and gentlemen. It's Scoremeister, it's Rain Day, it's Gabby, it's Pretty Hair, it's production, it's our admins, and it's all the players who are putting together the PPL for your pleasure. Make sure to stay tuned tomorrow, because that's when North America decides who's going second for LAN. Don't want to miss any beat of that. We'll see you at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, never give up, never stop gaming, and we'll see you all in the realm.